Jabroni, Jabronixyz, oh, it doesn't matter, you spell jabroni.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast. BJ Cruz here with my tag team partner, the incomparable, the newly confident, because he has the best player in baseball on his team, Jeremy Loss. Jay, what is up, my dude?
Man, rooting for Fernando Tatis Jr. has been a blessing. And the fact that the Padres got him for a washed-up James Shields just makes me feel even better.
Yeah, looking back on that trade is wild. But usually that's kind of how these trades in baseball especially work, right? Like it's those throw-ins that end up being incredible. Not all the time, but I've seen it happen more often than not, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, we had to pay part of James Shields' salary, which was pretty large, but the fact that we got the best, probably one of the top three best players in baseball right now, I'll take it any day of the week.
It's absolutely money. Speaking of money, we are brought to you by our friends, the best podcast network in the world, the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and also our friends over at betonline.ag. Don't forget to subscribe to our show wherever you download your podcasts. And if you're one of our fantastic Apple Podcast users, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you're feeling spicy, leave a review. And for our Spotify people, keep hitting us with that follow. Keep helping us climb those charts, and keep listening to us on 1.2 speed. Jay, I gave it a run through. I wanted to see how we sounded on 1.2 speed. Gotta say, kind of dig it. We might sound better than our regular voices.
I sound good at any speed, so yeah. You know.
That's that Tatis. That's that Tatis confidence.
I'm flowing with swag right now. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast. There's a red button around here on this video, so hit that. Make sure that you also like and leave a comment. We appreciate anything, even if it's a bad comment. It's just fun for us to look at. So please leave us a comment, like our videos. Make sure that you also follow us on social at Two Jabronis Pod on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Jeremy A. Loss, and you can follow Ben at Cruise Control. That's control with a K.
Absolutely. And if you missed our show on Tuesday, we had the fantastic Gary Cassidy of Sportskeeda on with us. He joined us right after Raw, minutes after Raw. And for him, that was like 5 a.m, which was insane to both of us. But he was such a trooper, stayed up to talk wrestling with us. Or I guess woke up early. I don't know. It depends how you look at it. I think
he stayed up. I don't know if he woke up.
Right.
I think you just.
Yeah, but I mean, man, that's like a graveyard shift, which is nuts, man. Like I don't even know how he functions as a person after that, but he did, and he's one of the best follows in wrestling right now. So go listen to our episode and then go follow him, or vice versa, however you want to do it. Just when you thought there wouldn't be anything to talk about after a huge weekend in wrestling this past weekend, we've got more stuff happen. More just they keep feeding us stuff to talk about, Jay. And
content after content. Like we just got a lot of content.
We're more than happy to oblige. So it is now time to stick to wrestling. And for this week's Stick to Wrestling, we're talking the PWI 500, because they dropped their list. And it is always a big deal. It's always a great jumping off point to start a conversation, whether you agree with the list or not. And I think that's always fantastic. So we wanted to run down the top 10, and let's go 10-1, because I think the 1 should be the big reveal for anyone who hasn't seen it. So we'll run through these quickly, and then we'll just talk about it. So here we go. At number 10. The phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Great start. At number 9, former WWE champion Kofi Kingston. Okay.
Surprise. We'll talk. I'll give my takes later, but
right.
yeah.
At number 8, Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah. Number 7, the former TNT champion, Cody Rhodes. At number 6, New Japan's own Okada. We're going to keep it in New Japan for number 5. We have Naito, which is two New Japans in the top 10, which is great. At number 4, Drew McIntyre, the current WWE champion. At number 3, great wrestler, questionable decision maker, Chris Jericho.
Terrible singer. Terrible singer.
I got to stop teeing you up for that. At number 2 is Adam Cole, baby. And then number 1, I'll say it, a little bit of a surprise he was the number 1, but I don't know if I'm mad at it. The current AEW champion, Jon Moxley. That is your top 10 according to PWI, the PWI 500. So, Jay, off the top, reactions. What are we thinking? Are we upset? Are we happy? What are the feelings going through you right now?
I mean, it's okay. I would have put either Naito or Cole at number 1. Mox has been great. I think maybe there might have been an issue, Naito and Okada might have been hindered by the fact that like New Japan was out for a while.
Sure.
And they weren't putting on shows, but Naito had an incredible year. Okada was great. Adam Cole carried NXT for a very long time. Another person that's kind of missing in this top 10, I don't know exactly where he falls on the list, is Keith Lee.
Yeah, I was wondering that myself.
So, the list is extensive. It's going to take some time for actually to go through it. But Jericho at 3 is pretty cool. I mean, he has done a lot of things well for AEW outside of the ring, and he's obviously putting talent over.
Yep.
I'm not going to be like overly upset about it. I think Mox is really great. I think he had a great year. He has now established himself as a bona fide superstar outside of the bubble of WWE. So kudos to him. Kofi at 9 is surprising. I felt like maybe that would have been better last year as opposed to this year, but it's fine. I'm not trying to bash them having Kofi at 9 because I love Kofi Kingston. But yeah, it's a good balance between you got AEW, you have WWE, and then you have New Japan in there as well. I just felt like Naito was incredible for this past year, and really did he started the year off great at Wrestle Kingdom when he won both belts. And I thought like that could have really elevated him to number 1, but it's fine. Everybody has their own opinion. I'll live with Mox at number 1. One interesting note that I've kind of seen around is some really cool things that actually came about in this list. And I'll get your feelings on the top 10 too, but 75 of the 500 wrestlers are actually Black this year, which is great. We're starting to see more diversity within the list. You know who's at number 69?
Oh no.
Otis.
Of course. Why not? That fits like a glove.
Baron Corbin is 41. Randy Orton's 48, which is
odd. Whoa.
It's kind of weird. There's a lot of really notable women within the top 100 and within the top 500. Tessa Blanchard's at 83. I think Kylie Rae's at 70-ish. She's in the 70 range. Alley Cat's at 110. There's a lot more female wrestlers in this list. Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, is at 22. So it's really cool. I like this list every time it comes out. But yeah, the top 10 is solid. I would just change it up slightly.
So before I give my thoughts on the top 10, for the listeners who aren't as aware about what the PWI 500 is, do they give criteria in terms of how they create this list? Break it down for the people, or is it just this is their list and you just got to kind of accept it?
This is their list. This is who they're ranking.
Which is interesting, right? It just proves that wrestling in general is just super subjective, right? There's no, and like you said, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and that's what one of the funniest things to me is when we're watching a show and you're just on Twitter, immediately, inevitably, back to back, you'll see someone saying, "Oh, that was incredible," and someone saying that was cheesy or that was a piece of shit, and that just goes to show that this is all opinion based. And this is just used, again, to spark conversation. I don't think it's a definitive list because everyone's going to have their own opinions about this. And so I was just that was just
it's a respected list, but people always have their opinions. And I mean, everybody's going to have a take on it. Some interesting, other interesting factoids throughout the list. Nick Gage, who is a deathmatch legend, is 67, and he's actually higher than the Young Bucks, Jeff Cobb, Miz, and Dolph Ziggler. So, I mean, there's a variety of different wrestlers of different companies, indie wrestlers, different wrestling styles. I mean, it's a extensive list. There's people on here, I consider myself a really diehard wrestling fan, but there's people on here that I don't really notice or know very much. So, it is an extensive list. It's always going to have criticism. It's always going to have people bashing it, but I appreciate that they're putting this together because it's fun to do these things. It is really fun to go through and dissect a list like this. So let me hear your takes on the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start at the top with Mox. The only reason I'm a little surprised he's at number one is, and that's not to say he hasn't had a great year, because he has. He's an awesome AEW champion. He's a badass, and he's just so good on the mic. He's really, really solid in the ring as well. And he just kind of doubles down with his character. That's just who he is. And it just really translates well from off screen to when you listen to him in a podcast interview versus him in the ring, same guy. Right. And that's really hard to do that because people just kind of have to amp it up when they get on the mic. That being said, his run, I guess, toward this back end too it's been a little weird, obviously because of COVID. But I guess this might be more of a criticism a little bit of AEW and how they've treated the AEW title. It feels like they're treating it like a mid-card title just because of its placement usually on the card. In terms of how they tell the story, it's always in kind of the middle of the show. And I don't know if that's on purpose, but lately, it just feels like they've been promoting more the TNT title and trying to elevate that status. And in that, it's kind of washed down a little bit Mox's title run. And again, that's to no fault of his own. He's incredible. He's still doing fantastic work. But so that's why him at number one was a little surprising. I'm not mad at it. I think it makes sense, but that's where I was like, man, they were able to kind of see through that.
I think you make a good point about the TNT belt. I think AEW has really tried hard to put the TNT belt over, in part because it's a new belt and they want to put it over, and they know that hey, in order for us to get this over, we need to have Cody either starting or at the end of the show,
right?
And now they have the Dark Order running with it, and so they're really trying to put it over just to make it feel relevant. And I think their thinking is the AEW title is already relevant; it's already been put over. So let's focus on the mid-card belt and really try to emphasize the importance of this rather than just kind of introducing it and then burying it in the middle of the show. I think what has been really kind of reviving the AEW title has been the introduction of MJF into the picture. The segment that they had last night on Dynamite was pretty damn good.
Oh, so good. So good.
And we talked about this earlier in the week. We all agree MJF needs the belt at All Out. And I think that's when they'll shift the focus again and put it back towards the either the start or the end of the show for AEW or for Dynamite, and really kind of emphasize it a little bit more, because then they can push a real homegrown talent and a guy that they obviously believe in and think that has tremendous potential. So I think what they're doing with the TNT belt is on purpose, because they want to make sure that they're getting that as much shine as possible before they shift gears again and bring it back to the AEW title.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It was just, again, isn't, I'm not calling out Mox. I'm just calling out, or at least just questioning why. And that totally makes sense. They have to elevate this secondary title, because I think you and I talked about this a few weeks ago with Cody as the champion. It just kind of, there wasn't a good feeling about it yet, or we didn't know what the title meant. And I guess that now that they're trying to push it, it is, that in of itself is pushing the meaning, right? Or it's just making it mean more. And I'm not mad at that. The top four for me is pretty solid here. So you have Cole at 2. Again, Cole is just so freaking good, man. And we'll talk about the Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match that he's going to be participating in a little bit later, which I am so jacked up about. There's like, what else can you say about Cole? He made Pat McAfee look like $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. And this list was probably made before that match, but that's all you need to know right there. And yeah, I mean, you can look back at his work for over the past year, and he's just been absolutely incredible. Jericho, man, the way that he's able to repackage himself and make himself fresh over and over and over it's so impressive. And I think it almost makes him, in the grand scope of wrestling history, like right now I think he's underrated, and we probably won't appreciate him as much until he's done wrestling, right? Like now we look back on like the Bret Harts, the Stone Colds of the world, and we're like, man, like it's never going to be like, we're never going to have another Bret Hart and Stone Cold. Like we hold these legends on such a pedestal. And with Jericho, it's probably because he's still active, and we still criticize him and look at him as a current wrestler. When he's done, we're going to look back at his basically reiterations of himself, and we're going to be like, this is crazy. That was crazy for him to just repackage himself over and over again, and for him to get over and over again.
So it's crazy to think that there is an argument out there that he can be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Oh, I don't think it's a crazy argument anymore. I think it's a reasonable
I'm not saying
argument.
He should be. I'm just saying there's an argument out there that he could potentially be on that Mount Rushmore because of the things that he has done in 3 different companies. He's reinvented himself countless times, and now he is kind of finding himself in this role as quote unquote a gatekeeper and putting younger talent over, and he's doing it to a level that has really been kind of unmatched. Because I know for a lot of the older talent, especially in the WWE, it's like they kind of didn't want to put a lot of young talent over. Like there's a kind of like a pushback in a sense, and he is like leaning all the way in on doing his job of putting young talent over. So I think you can really make that argument. Like he deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore because he's just had an incredible career outside of his work with Fozzy. And has just really, really reinvented himself numerous times and has done great things within the world of wrestling. So Jericho in the top 10, I fully commend because he's awesome.
And even this version of him, like the current version, his feud with Orange Cassidy, which is fantastic as well. His work in the commentary booth, also great. He's not just a throwaway in there. He actually stands out. He does his job, and he uses that platform, like you said, to put over everyone else in the company, right? Like he still plays his character, but he still finds ways to put everyone over, and it's absolutely fantastic. Number 4, we have obviously Drew McIntyre, the WWE Champion. Again, he's been fantastic. Like since January, he just kind of had a fantastic run. He's been on a hot streak, and
he's carrying a brand. Like he's literally
carrying Raw. And he's, obviously Randy's a big part of what makes Raw watchable as well. But Drew was thrown into a situation that I don't know if everyone could have handled it, and that's being WWE champion in front of no one. Right? Like having your big moment, taking down Brock Lesnar for the second time in front of no one and being crowned champion. So, and he's just been getting better. Like he's the type of babyface that, when he first turned, wasn't quite sure that people would get behind him, but he's just made it work, right? And with no one there. And that to me is one of the most admirable things about this run, is that he's made it work. And I don't know if anyone else as champion, as a babyface champion at this time, could do that. So,
well, I mean, you can even look at the brand, like at the champion on Friday. Braun Strowman had a hell of a time trying to carry SmackDown, and just couldn't do it as a quote unquote babyface champion. Like it takes a lot. It takes a special character. It takes a special individual to really be able to connect with people through a screen rather than in a live audience. And Drew McIntyre has been able to do that and has really elevated himself as a in-ring technician and as a character throughout this time and throughout this like fanless interaction that they've been going through.
Absolutely. Seth Rollins at 8 is it's not a surprise. Like I stand for Seth Rollins, man. I think he's fantastic.
This I know.
And so that doesn't shock me. I'm hoping that they find something for him soon, other than just as good. I've kind of turned the corner a little bit on his feud with the Mysterios. At first, was kind of sour on it, but now I'm starting to dig it. But I think it's time for him. We got to find a way to get him back in the title picture, or a title picture. I don't know if it necessarily has to be the WWE title picture, because obviously Drew and Randy are going to be working that for a bit. But I mean, put him in the U.S. title picture, right? Like, let's do something. I know the Hurt Business and Apollo Crews are currently working that, and they're doing a really, really solid job. At some point, we got to get Seth back in, like, with a belt. Does
he need it though? I don't think he needs it.
He doesn't necessarily right now, but again, I just fear that this whole, like, he's the locker room leader, he's the Monday Night Messiah. Like, what is all that for? Like, he's doing all this heel shit for the greater good. At some point, he should want a belt. Like, he's one of the best wrestlers in the freaking company.
But I also think it's important for him right now to elevate the mid card on Raw, because he's not needed.
Sure.
Like, if you put him in the main event picture, like, it's so top heavy on Raw that, like, the mid card just kind of disappears. And I think that's why they're really putting an emphasis on Kevin Owens and Seth having a role within the quote unquote mid card of Raw. So because they need to have a balance.
To that point, right? Like, KO Seth for the US title, like, who's not watching that? Right? Like, I mean, I guess you could watch it without the title at stake, to your point, but like, Apollo hasn't been bad as a US champion. I'm also, like, if he loses the title, am I that upset? I don't know. Like, he's been fine. He's been fine as US champion. He's been doing some okay work, but you give me Seth KO after they had an incredible feud, back around Mania time. Like, sign me up for that US title feud. And if you want to elevate that title to, I mean, even close to the the WWE title, I mean, that's a way to do it. Going back to the Kofi thing. So Kofi at number 9 is obviously a bit of a surprise, because after Brock squashed him last year or back in October, back during SmackDown's debut on Fox, they just kind of never threw him back into, like, any main title picture. Like, they put him back in the tag team picture and everything else, and that was fine. But they never really gave him a shot again at the world title picture, which has been frustrating. And also, kind of going back to, I don't know if you saw some of Dave Schilling's tweets, who used to be a writer in WWE. He knew the plan from day one after Kofi won the title was for Brock to squash him one day, which is all kinds of disturbing and sad and frustrating. But, I guess Kofi being in the top 10 is just a little surprising, because, he hasn't really been in any featured storylines on SmackDown. Yeah. I mean, he's been tag team champion again, but, and he's great work. He's just one of the best all around workers in the company. So I'm with that. Just a little surprising to see him in there. AJ, not a surprise at all. Like, AJ is AJ. He's as long
he's
as
gonna be in the top 10 until he retires. Like, he's just that good.
Exactly. Like, he just doesn't do bad work. He puts everyone over, and he puts himself over. He's absolutely fantastic. So no issues, no big issues with this top 10. And again, it's all subjective. Like, there's probably people out there who hate this top 10. There's probably another podcast out there who hates this top 10. And so if you want to listen to them to counterbalance our positivity, more power to you, our listeners. Let's transition here. Let's talk about this.
Oh, shoot. Hold on. Before we transition, I just found out the top 25.
So
let's run down this really quick.
You look displeased.
Okay. So 25, Walter.
Okay.
24, Kento Mihara. 23, Aleister Black. 22, MJF. 21, Will Ospreay. 20, Jacob Fatu. 19, Braun Strowman. 18, Roosh. 17, Kota Ibushi. 16, Bray Wyatt. 15, Nick Aldis. Holy shit. 14, Roman Reigns. 13, Kenny Omega. 12, Brock Lesnar. 11, Keith Lee. There's Keith Lee right there
he's
at 11.
right outside the top 10.
Okay, so
right outside.
Interesting. Very, very interesting that Nick Aldis is at 15. He's been great as NWA champion. Jacob Fatu in MLW. That's really great at 20. So it's awesome to see the variety. Roosh is in Ring of Honor. Rush. I always say Rush, but I think it's pronounced Roosh. Ring of Honor. So, I mean, there's a variety of talent here. Walter at 25, considering he hasn't done much in the back half of 2020, is interesting. But, man, I think he could potentially be in the top 10 at some time. Roman, again, 14, probably would have been in the top 10 if he is around. And Omega. I mean, one person here missing in the top 25 is Adam Page, who's been awesome.
He has been awesome.
I don't have a lot of things to say about the top 25. Maybe Braun Strowman out. I would push him down a little bit, but I mean, to each their own.
Yeah, the Braun thing, I'm not going to do it. I'm not.
I also think there's an argument to be made that Bray should be in the top 10.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could absolutely
just
make that
purely
argument.
On character work.
Yeah,
it's been incredible.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. All right, let's talk about this fatal 4-way for the NXT Championship on Tuesday. Very special Tuesday edition of NXT coming up. Obviously, Karrion Kross unfortunately had to vacate the NXT title due to his shoulder injury, a legitimate shoulder injury. So he's not going to be able to compete for a while, which is a big bummer because, I mean, he would have been fantastic as just
he was on one, man. That run that he was on was great. Is it the same injury that Finn Balor had?
I'm unsure. I'm actually unsure about when the injury happened. I tried to watch it back. Couldn't really.
It definitely happens right before. I feel like it happens right before the finish.
Oh, okay.
Because the finish was wonky and it came out of nowhere. And I feel like when they're because it was off the mid rope, the second rope, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like when they were there, he might have said like, "I'm injured. Like, let's just go home." Because it was like that finish was weird and it was a little wonky.
That might explain why their match just kind of seemed a little discombobulated. Like there was no fluidity to it because he might have been. I mean, he might have been injured even sooner, but that might explain why it worked out like that. Again, super unfortunate. But that being said, as always, the show must go on, and the NXT title will be decided in a Tuesday Fatal 4-Way. 60-man Iron Man match. A lot of stipulations, a lot of shenanigans here. We've got Adam Cole taking on Tommaso Ciampa, taking on Johnny Gargano, taking on Finn Balor. We've got 4 former NXT champions vying for the title. I guess before first of all, this is going to be a banger. Right, like
this could be incredible. This is going to be like just a workman 60-minute match. Like these guys are going to put on a show. It's interesting, especially in WWE, that we're having a match of this significance, and all the guys I believe are under 205 pounds.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, I think Ciampa might be around there, or might be like 215, depending on like how.
So you're saying this is 205 live at Jace?
I mean, sure, but like it's just going to be. I mean, we're going to see some top level work. I mean, Iron Man matches are a little bit of a slog because obviously it's 60 minutes long, and there's going to be points in time where there's a lot of just like resting to kind of get their breath. But I think the fact that there's going to be 4 of them, that makes me think that like at one point there's going to be like 2 guys on the outside of the ring just fucking laying down, relaxing, and the other 2 are going to be working, and they're just going to shift off. Like I don't know how often we're going to see all 4 working at the same time. Like I feel like they're going to shift and try to like really kind of make sure that this match keeps going and keeps having has a flow. And the fact that they have 4, they can kind of switch off and make sure they're always kind of fresh.
The one thing I've been wondering, so with a Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match, if there's a tie at the end of 60 minutes, like let's say there's a 2-way tie, does the match go into overtime with just those 2 people?
Yeah.
Okay, and so
that's my assumption. My assumption.
And if it's a 3-way tie, those 3 keep going and one guy's eliminated?
That would be my assumption.
Okay, cool. I'm just double checking because I can't remember the last time I've seen a multi-man Iron
I don't
Man
think that's
match?
ever happened.
So that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Which is, I mean, I'm
it's
about
gonna be
it.
interesting. It's gonna be. I'm also interested in figure out like how many actual falls will happen, because I know for Iron Man matches usually it's not a lot. They like try to save it towards the end. I mean, obviously, like the one that I always remember and I always go back to is the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart one, where I think there was only one fall and it was it was in overtime.
Yep.
So, it's just going to be interesting. It's also interesting that they're doing this on Tuesday night to try to get some extra eyeballs and really give this thing at the time that it needs. I'm excited that they didn't like go, oh, we're going to do an Iron Man match, but it's going to be a 30-minute Iron Man match. Like they were like, we're going to do the 60. And my pick here, maybe I'm jumping the gun here. My pick is Finn Balor.
We've been doing this podcast together for too long. That's also my pick. As much as you know how much I hate to agree with you, I do think it's Finn's time, because, man, he just kind of been on the outside looking in a little bit, and again, I thought that he should have at least been in the North American title ladder match at TakeOver, and he just wasn't. So, like, the other three guys don't need it right now. I think Cole's on the precipice of being moved up to Raw or SmackDown, so that makes it. I don't like. It also might be. It also might be Ciampa. Honestly, I think it goes. If I had to power rank like who's gonna win in order, Finn, clear number 1, Ciampa number 2, Gargano at a weird number 3, and then Cole, because I think Cole's on his way out.
Yeah, I think Cole would have been out if Kross is healthy. I think Cole's on his way out. Yeah. I think they were like, hey, we need you. Like, please work this match. I actually have Gargano above Ciampa. I think Gargano needs it more than anybody outside of Finn, just because it's kind of like just floating around with this heel character that is just not working for me. I think Finn came back to NXT to be a champion. Finn came back to really put NXT back on the map when it's going against AEW. I think now's the time you give him a belt and let him run the show as this heelish character. I know that they were probably hoping for the Walter match, but obviously with everything going on, it just never came to fruition. So just put the belt on him. Let him feud with Ciampa. I mean, I'm fine with that. He can feud with Ciampa. He can feud with I'm sure they'll introduce like Dexter Lumis to the title picture. There's a handful of guys that they can have him feud with, and it'll be great. So, I mean, let's just see what he can do as the leader of the clubhouse again, because his NXT title run was one of the more iconic ones. So let's just see what he can do as this character.
Yeah, I mean, Breezango came back to win the tag team titles, so I think it's
shout out to Breezango. Tyler Breeze getting his first title in NXT.
Right.
After so many years.
Breeze, shout out to Breeze 2 belts, by the way. He's also the current Up Up Down Down champion on the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel. He's one of the best gamers in the world, according to Up Up Down Down. Yeah, no, shout out to them. But yeah, this is Finn's time. It should be, because, again, when he came back to NXT, they threw him immediately in that title picture, or seemingly anyway, right? And then all of a sudden, just kind of disappeared from it, because it was time for that Keith Lee run. Like they were setting up for that, and that made a whole lot of sense. But now with kind of the circumstances there, I thought Finn should have been feuding with Karrion Kross anyway. So give him the belt now. Let him run with it. I think him and Ciampa feud would be phenomenal. So let's have that, because Ciampa's never really gotten his secondary run or challenge at the title, right? Since he had to drop it. So I think it is that time. But it's going to be. I do love though how they had to pivot to this 60-man 4-way Iron Man match, and they just called up USA and were like, "Hey, can we get an hour and change on Tuesday?" And USA was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
They're like, "What are they going to show? Like a rerun of Suits?"
Yeah, we can move our episode of Chrisley Knows Best to Thursday. So
I legit watched that show.
Oh God,
for
God
a while there
you.
when it first launched, like when it first came out, because it was always on after Raw, and I would watch it. I'm like, this show is fucking awful. But moving on, let's talk about the Payback main event. We're not going to do a full Payback preview because, to be honest, I don't want to.
What a quick turnaround, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just talk about the main event, which is going to be Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman in the triple threat for the WWE Championship, or for the Universal Championship, sorry. I think we're in agreement here that Roman takes the belt off of Bray.
Yep.
But, I mean, an interesting thing to think about is, do you have Roman lose here, but not technically lose, like not take the pin? We all know Braun is taking the pin here.
Either way.
He's taking the pin. There's no way you can pin Bray, and there's no way you can pin Roman. So Braun is taking the pin. I mean, I'm fine with him with Roman getting the belt, but I like the idea of also him chasing the Fiend for the belt, because the babyface is always better chasing. And I think that'd be really great. And I think there's a storyline there. But either way, the storyline's going to be awesome.
That also brings about the question that will probably get answered hopefully Friday. Is Roman still a babyface? Because
that is a good question.
His actions at the end of SummerSlam were very heelish. The way he was talking was very heelish. His brand spanking new white veneers, a little heelish.
Little heelish.
The way he clapped back at Randy Orton, a little heelish. So, and maybe they're playing that tweener, right? And that's totally fine too. But that's why I think, honestly, like, he has to win the title. And it sucks to basically treat the Fiend like a transitional champion, but also when you have the opportunity to put it back on Roman, and which is what they were going to do at Mania, by the way, until he had to pull out because of the pandemic, and he had newborn children. Again, totally a 1,000% respectable reason to do that. He should be champion. And again, him Fiend feud, either way, whether Roman's a champion, whether Fiend's a champion, like, sign me up, because that's what we were clamoring for the whole time, right? Like, that's what we, back before Fiend unconsciously lost the title to Goldberg, which I still can't get over. We were pushing for Fiend Roman, because we're like, this feud makes a whole lot of sense. This is going to be incredible. So they have a chance to do it now, and they need to pull the trigger. Either way.
Yep.
But I think Roman.
Either way,
I think Roman should win the title on Sunday. I think they need the ratings boost.
Yeah, they need that bump. But yeah, I agree. Either way, the storyline between Roman and Bray is going to be incredible. Bray is going to bring the fire, whether it's in the fun house or wherever. I think there is a story to be told there. I just like the idea of Roman chasing as Roman the champion. But if they put the belt on him, I'm fine with it. It's really like a no-lose situation, because the Fiend with the belt is fine. Roman with the belt is fine. Either way. So interested to see this match. I'm also interested in another match on Payback that I'm really kind of clamoring for, is Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. Yeah. I hope to God that they adjust the music and bring it back to the original, and they take that fucking skin guard off of Keith Lee and let the man titties fly. Let him out.
Keith Lee called you. I don't know, he didn't call you out, but he seemingly called you out on Twitter about the music. Basically, he was like, "Everyone chill. The music is what it is. I will not chill.
I will riot every time I hear the stupid generic like music for Keith Lee.
2K creator wrestler music. Yeah,
I kid you not. So the next day, on Tuesday, I was just like thumping the Keith Lee entrance music on my computer while I was working. Yeah. I was just like, I was going for it. It's great. And then also, like, I think his debut was fine. It lacked a little something because of the way that the match finished. And I think now you can give them, since they're on a pay-per-view, just let them have a match. Let them go for it. And I mean, I'm sure Randy will go over because Randy's in the main event title picture, but I don't think that would kill Keith Lee's progression at all if he took a loss to Randy Orton, who is at the top of the food chain. So give them 15-20 minutes and let them work, and I think that would be great for them.
They also sprinkled in a little bit of seeds of a Keith Lee Drew McIntyre feud on Monday, because both Drew and Keith Lee kind of acknowledged that Drew interfered, and Drew had his little thing about didn't mean to interfere with my friend Keith Lee, but at the same time, I had business to take care of, right? So basically, like, whoever's in my way, Doesn't matter. Keith Lee also was like, he dropped a little tidbit about he didn't really appreciate the interference, but he understood. So a little, not a full-on tease, a little sprinkle, a little dabble, if you will, about
a little
dash. Yeah, not too much, because you don't want to never want to oversalt something. But it's I think that seed has been planted that eventually Keith Lee is going to be in the WWE.
I have a prediction to make.
Oh no,
I have a prediction.
Okay.
Keith Lee, Royal Rumble winner.
Oh, we're jumping 6 months ahead of time. Okay.
Keith Lee is winning the motherfucking Rumble.
Book it. You don't think he gets a title shot before that? Like Survivor Series, maybe?
No.
Okay. So this is a low and slow feud. This is on 150.
Little sprinkles.
150 degrees. Let this bad boy cook nice and slow, and then Royal Rumble is fall off the bone. I like it. All right. I'm with you. I just dropped a lot of
that's the way you
references.
want to. I mean, you have to put him over as one of your big stars. He is an incredible worker. He does have a lot of fans in the backstage. Have him just kind of float around, just kind of hanging around, having moments, have him win the Rumble, and then have his moment at WrestleMania. Shit, I don't give a fuck if they do, like, if Brock comes back, wins the belt, and it's Keith Lee versus Brock. They had an incredible moment in the Rumble last year. Keith Lee versus Brock at WrestleMania. Sign me the fuck up. Give it to me.
This is too early for these kinds of predictions. My head is about to explode. I'm not mad at him. I'm not. Just you didn't warn me that you were gonna just be dropping prediction bombs left and right.
I mean, I had my coffee in the French press this morning. I feel rejuvenated, and I just think Keith Lee versus Brock Lesnar, The Rock versus Roman, Bayley versus Sasha, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. I don't give a shit. Randy versus Edge. There's your WrestleMania. Thank you. I'll take my cut of the gate, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, Vince has to send you a check right there, because that is a fire card. And if I want it on record. If any of those matches happen, or if Jeremy gets 4 out of 5, WWE owes him a check.
Wait, I changed my prediction. Not Drew versus Seth. I'm saying Drew versus Adam Cole.
Bebe. There it is. All right, there. So if Jeremy gets anywhere close to that, WWE owes him a check. And I love Drew versus Adam Cole, by the way.
Because that goes back to Adam Cole's debut on NXT.
Exactly. Yep. That's how you book a show, people. That is how you book a show.
It just comes to me. I have a gift.
Again, this stupid Padres are just making this man so arrogant, so cocky.
All right, let's wrap up the show before my head gets too big. Make sure that you follow us on social. You can follow me, or you can follow us on social at 2 Jabronis Pod on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow me personally at Jeremy A. Loss on Twitter, and you can follow Ben at Cruise Control. That's Control with a K. Make sure that you also subscribe, follow, and like, and comment on our YouTube channel at 2 Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast. There's a red button somewhere around here. Hit the button.
I think it's right here.
Do us a favor. Really help us out on YouTube, because we really want to start gaining some traction there so that I can take that belt from Chris Van Vliet. So thank you to everybody that's already subscribed, but please, if you haven't, subscribe and like our videos.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you download your podcasts. And if you're one of our fantastic Apple Podcast users, please, please, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you're feeling spicy, leave a review. Spotify people, keep hitting us with that follow. Help us climb those charts. And and again, 1.2 speed. I promise you.
Do it.
1.2 speed has changed my podcasting listening ways. I save a few minutes a day, and who doesn't want to save time? Like, there's a ton of good podcasts out there, but 1.2 speed will help you get through our podcast faster, so you can get to the other ones. So I'm trying to do you a service by recommending this feature.
1.2 speed, and you can get to other Blue Wired podcasts. Great stuff coming out. So
look at that. Jeremy's a company man right there. Just plug in the whole network again at the back end of the show. All right, everyone. Enjoy Payback this weekend. We will catch you in a few days. In the meantime, please stay safe. Please stay healthy. If you can, stay home. If you can't stay home, wear a mask. keep washing your hands, and then always and forever, Black Lives Matter. All right, everyone, we will talk to you soon. Peace.